Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Greg Firman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com, and these are the market positions for March the 31st, 2010. Our first position tonight is going to be in lean hogs futures, the continuous contracts. We can see that we have this fresh crossover that's beginning to form here from vantage point right off of this 7170 area. We want to identify now our key areas of pivot support: 7167, 7173, and 7206, with a close of 7305. Now with this close of 7305, obviously we're looking for a pullback tomorrow. So again, we're going to go into our daily report here from Vantage Point. We want to use as many of the Vantage Point indicators as possible here to get our directional indicators, our daily range, our bigger range, all of that from the same program. So what we're looking at here, we've got the neural index has turned positive for the second day in a row, I might add. We've had a higher high today of 73.71, also a higher low of 72.53. Predicted short and medium term differences have both turned positive. Long term has not turned positive yet, but that's okay. So for tomorrow, we're going to be looking for this pullback. We're going to be buying off the 72.53 area. Our target will then be 73.71. Now with that, we're going to go into our crossovers from Vantage Point. We're going to look for overbought and oversold signals. First thing we want to do here is we want to go into our properties, check our short, medium, and long-term crossovers to make sure everything is in line for our buy. We can see that the short-term position is showing a long here with this crossover taking place at or about the 71 level. We're then going to go into our medium-term crossover from Vantage Point, also hitting apply. We can see that the medium-term crossover is not crossed just yet, but it's very close. So we're jumping in this, we're going to let it pull back, and then we're going to get into these hog futures. Now hitting our long-term crossover from Vantage Point, we can see here that we don't have our crossover yet. However, our short-term crossover from Vantage Point is our early indicator. We've also got the triple EMA from crossover from Vantage Point, getting ready to make that move to the upside. We can see it right here. The leading indicator is the predicted 3-day crossing over the 8-day and the 18-day predicted moving average from Vantage Point. Now we can see here we would like to see the 8-day predicted moving average crossover also, and I believe that's going to happen in the days ahead. Now we do want to check our other Vantage Point indicators. We want to go into the main primary indicator, which is Vantage Point's own, is the predicted true strength indicator. We have the crossover to the downside from overbought territory. However, the trigger now is stalling out just above this 0 level. Very good indication that this is the extent of how far, this is how much lower it's going to go. Now we're also going to add the predicted MACD from Vantage Point and see what's happening with the predicted MACD. We can see here on the predicted MACD that we've hit the 0 line. The trigger is starting moving back towards the 0 line. I believe that's going to cross over in the days ahead. We're now going to hit the predicted RSI from Vantage Point, also checking that. We haven't hit overbought territory yet. We've got room to extend. So again, on a short-term crossover here, we're basing our buy signal. We're going to use the short-term crossover with the predicted low in that 72.50, 73.50 range. Again, we've closed at 73.05. So for tomorrow, we're going to be having this pullback between basically the 8-day and 18-day predicted moving average from Vantage Point, at which time we're going to get into a buy position. Now that's our first position for tomorrow. We're going to now go into live cattle futures. We can see that a good trending move is about to happen here. This is a very good indication. We've had the 3-day cross over the 8-day predicted moving average from Vantage Point. However, we've had a significant failure here with that 3-day attempting to cross over that 18-day predicted moving average, which is a critical level of support, pivot support in this case. Now, first thing what we want to do is identify our pivot support: 94.91, 95.47, and 95.46. Now again, with these three levels of pivot support here, we've closed the day 96.05, so a good reversal higher. Now on a pullback, we're going to be wanting to get back into these live cattle futures. Now again, we're going to go into these crossovers from Vantage Point, the short, the medium, and the long term. Very important that all of these crossovers are checked. They're extremely powerful leading indicators. Now this crossover on the short term, we've got the Again, the 2-day crossing over a 5-day simple moving average, which is the 2-day predicted moving average from Vantage Point, leading indicator that this is going to go higher. We're now going to hit the medium-term crossover from Vantage Point. We can see here we've got a cross to the downside. Now, the long-term crossover from Vantage Point may show us yet again a different signal here, which it does. We can see the long-term is getting ready to cross back over to the upside. Now, again, we're going to put in these multiple indicators from Vantage Point. We're going to put in the true strength indicator, the predicted TSI from Vantage Point. We can see that the trigger is starting to move higher yet again. This is a good indication. Now, using the predicted RSI, we're looking for an overbought and oversold signal. This is a good indication here. We have the predicted RSI from Vantage Point sitting right on 50, which is trend ready. Now, we're going to look at the predicted MACD again, also from Vantage Point. Predicted MACD is crossed over to the downside, but again, still well above the zero line. So with that said, everything here looks good for the live cattle futures. Now, what we're going to do here, because we're trading basically live futures contracts on both cattle and on hogs, we're going to put these two side by side for our trades tomorrow to look at the correlation and see how close this correlation is between the lean hog futures and the live cattle futures. Now, we can see here right now I've got this. I'm just going to put this up. First of all, I'm going to put the triple EMA crossover up side by side, so first and foremost everybody can see this. Now, using the triple EMA crossover from Vantage Point on both, we can see that the live cattle futures is holding firm here. We've got a new buy signal that's starting on the lean hog futures. So again, there is a fairly strong correlation here. Now, if we use the medium term crossover from Vantage Point, we can see that on the medium term crossover, lean hogs is getting ready to make a move to the upside, and we're just starting to get that move to the upside on the live cattle futures. So again, we certainly have a strong correlation. Now, again, looking at the short-term crossover and applying to both, we can see that again this is sorry, here we're just going to put this up here on both on the short-term indicators. Now, we can see here we've got this fresh crossover on the live cattle futures, making this a very attractive buy. The short-term happened a couple of days ago on the lean hogs futures, but again, still a very good indication of a buy signal. So again, it's very important that we use the correlation to the different markets. Now, again, with looking at different markets like this, we can see that obviously this trade for tomorrow, the two trades have a very high correlation to each other, so not necessarily always a good idea to take both of these trades at the same time. But again, if we do take both of these trades at the same time, they both do potentially have a good opportunity here after we get a slight pullback. We've got our short term saying it's going to go higher, but I do expect a little bit of a dip in both of these two, in both the lean hogs and the live cattle futures. When we get that little minor dip, that will allow us to get again back into the buy positions. Now, what we're going to do here also is we're going to break down the live cattle futures and go into the daily report. Now, looking at the live report here on the looking at the report, I should say, excuse me, on the live cattle futures, we can see that we've closed at 96.05 for tomorrow. We have 95.39 and 96.44. So for tomorrow, we're going to be looking at this 95.39 area as an opportunity to get into buy positions on the live cattle futures. Again, the pullback is perfectly normal. We've got the second day in a row, we've got the neural index turning positive. We've got the predicted short-term differences turning positive. However, the medium and the longer term are still running slightly negative. So again, once we get this pullback towards the 95.39 area, we can get into those buy positions. So those are the market positions for March the 31st, 2010. And again, my name is Greg Firman, market analyst here at TraderPlanet.com.